Hi, I'm Saida Garrett, co-writer of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mr. Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, the High Priest of the Temple of Priapus, David Francis Cassidy. Plus, my Big Brother Canada 9 coverage continues with the 6th and 7th evicted house guests, Victoria Woghiren and Rohan Kapoor. Can someone say double eviction? And Rainbow Country contributor, musician and activist Anna Gutmanis talks about the legacy of queer black women musicians. And in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, plus voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. Stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Carol Pope.
Hi, I'm Garrett Conley, author of Boy Erased, a memoir.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Segato.
Hi, I'm Gord Depp of the Spoons. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT-FM in Toronto, the sound of your city, and now proudly in syndication on 9 stations across Canada, including Bombshell Radio, Love Your Indie, a 24/7 streaming outlet, and Real Music, Real Ideas, Real People, CKUW-FM in Winnipeg, The Juice, CJUC-FM in Whitehorse, the mighty CKCU-FM in Ottawa, the voice of the Haliburton Highlands Canoe-FM in Haliburton, Ontario's Cottage Country. Located in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, CFCR-FM, Newfoundland's only alternative, CHMR-FM in St. John's, Newfoundland, and the latest station to carry Rainbow Country, proudly broadcasting to Kingston, Ontario since 1922, CFRC-FM in Kingston. So, whether you are listening in the Yukon, the Prairies, Ontario's Cottage Country, Southern Ontario down to Buffalo, New York, to the east coast of Canada in the Maritimes, or you're streaming online, it's because of you. Tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. That has taken this little gay program and made it into a syndicated radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast, and a top 100 LGBT podcast to follow. And last week, Rainbow Country was #2 on Podomatic's gay and lesbian chart. So today, in hour 1, at the Temple of Priapus, all members worship members. It's a prerequisite. There is no creation but that which is created by phallus. On your knees and worship cock. The High Priest of the Temple of Priapus, David Francis Cassidy, joins me to talk about his chapter of the Temple of Priapus, located in Montreal, and he started that location back in the 1970s. And my Big Brother Canada 9 coverage continues with the 6th and 7th evicted house guests, Victoria Woghiren and Rohan Kapoor. Plus in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, plus voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. But up first, Rainbow Country contributor, musician, and activist Anna Gutmanis talks about the legacy of queer black women musicians.
As a white baby dyke musician coming of age in Toronto in the 1980s, freshly dropped out of U of T, I was steered toward the music of the out lesbian artists of Olivia Records. The problem was that while I did admire some of that music, overall it did not move me. It wasn't until I went back to U of T to complete my degree in the 2000s that I was taught about my true musical foremothers, the queer black women musicians of the Harlem Renaissance and the southern U.S. Nowadays we all know about Ma Rainey and her contemporaries thanks to Viola Davis, Netflix, and awards season. But 20 years ago, white queer musicians had to dig deep to learn about our true queer musical history. Even a mere 5 years ago, while training for my role as band leader at Girls Rock Camp Toronto, I was the only white trainee who could instantly identify the gorgeous black woman happily holding her electric guitar in the training slideshow. That woman was Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the mother of rock and roll, and the reason why all of us could gather at rock camp in the first place. Every musician who writes and performs popular music owes a huge debt of gratitude to Rosetta. Because the music segment of my U of T Sexual Diversity Studies course concentrated on the Harlem Renaissance only, I learned about Southerner Rosetta years after graduating through a friend's social media post. Rosetta's crossover hit, Strange Things Happening Every Day, deemed by many scholars to be the first rock and roll record, came in 1945, 10 years before the father of rock and roll, Chuck Berry, released his first hit song. And Berry himself often said that his whole career was one long Sister Rosetta Tharpe imitation. I drove through northern states Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois with my then partner, also white, on a mini Pride tour in 2010, and I felt pretty badass about it all. But I had no idea that Rosetta and her then partner, Marie, also black, often drove their own van throughout the southern U.S. on tour in the 1940s. Every time I think about that, I am filled with huge admiration for the sheer bravery it took to do that. Because of the horrific systemic racism that kept black folks out of hotels and restaurants at that time, Rosetta also basically invented the rock and roll tour van. I wonder what else that we all take for granted today further historical research will reveal. Please, let's keep the genius legacy of Rosetta, Ma Rainey, and other queer black women musicians of the early to mid-20th century alive and well in the queer music scene of today. No more whitewashing, no more erasure. This is singer-songwriter and activist Anna Gutmanis for Rainbow Country. You can reach me at annagutmanis.com.
Bill 7. To ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
Up next, my Big Brother Canada 9 coverage continues with the 6th and 7th evicted house guests, Victoria Woghiren and Rohan Kapoor.
Tell everyone who is heading to jury. House guests, I have the results. By a unanimous vote. Victoria, Rohan, you have been evicted. Please say your goodbyes.
Hi, Victoria, Rohan. Hi, how are you?
Hi, doing well. How are you?
I am good. Victoria, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you?
I'm good. Living the jury life.
So you both just got out of the Big Brother Canada game. You both got evicted, but you are in jury. Victoria, what are you most looking forward to in the jury house?
I'm excited to just debrief. That game is hard. It's heavy. It's constant, 24/7. I'm looking forward to just relaxing and having a say in the final, the final crowning of the Big Brother Canada Season 9 winner.
And Rohan, for you, what are you most looking forward to there in jury?
Aside from the fact that obviously we have a say in who gets to represent this season, just being in the jury house, I'm excited to relax a little bit, de-stress. I was constantly on my hands and knees trying to crawl through that game. So to just take a load off and not have to think about it is the part I'm most looking forward to.
So let's go back in time. Victoria, you find out you are going on to Big Brother Canada. Do you have a strategy going into the game?
I wanted to go in the house and try and play as many sides as I could and get other people to go after each other so I wouldn't have to. I definitely wanted to be feeding information to another side. I didn't intend on winning so many comps. I didn't want to put a big target on my back the way I did. But when you get in that house, you got to go with the flow.
And Rohan, same question. Do you have a strategy going into the game?
Yeah, I wanted to go in and, form a 4 to 5 person alliance and be the person in the alliance that did not win the competitions, but more so was calling the shots and making the decisions for the group. And obviously that changed pretty quickly. As soon as I walked into the house, Arissa tells us that there's a team's twist. We're getting split into groups of 7. And my team took back-to-back losses to start the season. So I was on the block week 1 with 5 others. I was on the block week 2 with Josh. And from that position, it was just kind of tough to rebound. And definitely threw my strategy out the window, and I had to adjust.
So, Victoria, you were the invisible HOH. You targeted Austin. Why did you want Austin out of the game?
I targeted Austin because I was supposed to be aligned with her, but I never felt more apart from someone in the game. She wouldn't talk to me. She didn't want to, I don't know, I wasn't feeling the vibe. I thought if I got rid of Austin, it would show the boys and Beth that, I made a big move for you guys. I could have came for you guys, but I didn't. You can trust me.
Looking back now, do you think that was the right decision to make?
No, I definitely should have made a bigger move. I should have just went for dead Bether ties, but I didn't.
So Rohan, you were on the block a number of times. You were on slop a lot. How challenging was this season for you?
It was extremely challenging. I obviously, when I left last night, I was on the block the most number of times out of anyone. And I was also on slop for the most number of days. So, for both of those, it was extremely tough. And the 2 of the vetoes I won, I was actually on slop for those 2 wins. So, I just kind of had to grind it out and make sure that I had the energy to do so. But, from the start, it was just tough because we took those back-to-back losses to start the season. My strategy's out the window. And I'm in a position where I have to win to stay in the game, which is exactly the position I did not want to be in. Of course, obviously, if the invisible HOH week goes differently and Jed and Tashawn go on the block like they should have, then this is a whole new ball game. So it's unfortunate that didn't happen, but at the same time, that's the game, and I'm here in the jury house to cast a vote.
But Rohan, on the upside, you won a number of vetoes. Did winning those competitions, did that surprise you that you were able to do that?
It didn't surprise me that I was able to do it. I just didn't want to do it coming into the house. Obviously, part of my strategy was to not win a large number of competitions, have other people do it for me, and try to call the shots from a more behind-the-scenes perspective. But when Kiefer put me on the block next to Kyle, I felt as though if I were there at the end of the week, I would have been the one to go over him. And likewise in the situation where I was up most recently against when I was up the most recent time, I had to win that third veto. If I didn't take myself off the block, I was going home next to Tara. And Victoria obviously was the replacement nominee in that situation. She ended up going home, but I followed her pretty quickly after that.
So, Victoria, Rohan, looking back over your gameplay, Victoria, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Yeah, with my invisible HOH, I wish I just made a bigger move and went for dead bucket tie.
And Rohan, would you have done anything differently looking back over your gameplay?
You know what? I honestly, I wouldn't. This is maybe going to surprise some people, but I honestly wouldn't do a whole lot differently. Just I felt like after we sent Latoya home, I was in a very, very good spot in the house. I would have bet that Kiefer would have put up 2 of the 3 people that voted against him in that eviction, and that didn't happen. But even after that, I think I could have still rebounded. But the way that things played out, it was a little unfortunate. I think maybe my biggest mistake is misreading Kiefer early on in the game and not understanding the type of player that he was. And maybe that's why I ended up on the block during his HOH reign. So, he ended up getting out my close ally, followed by myself last night. So my biggest mistake was misreading him. I wouldn't change anything drastically, though.
So my last question for the two of you, Victoria, best part about being part of Big Brother Canada?
Definitely just meeting the people that I met, having these relationships for the rest of my life. I'm so excited. The memories, being on TV is a lifelong dream of mine. So I'm just so happy that I got this experience.
And Rohan, best part about being part of Big Brother Canada?
Yeah, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There's a very small number of people that are ever going to get to experience something like this. I've watched this show for a number of years on TV, and to actually be part of the experience, part of the game, was incredible. And although I didn't get the result I wanted, I'm still in the jury house. I still have a say in who gets to represent this season, and it's a big role. Playing this game was something I wanted to do for a long time, and like Victoria said, the relationships that you can form with people in such a short period of time, it's crazy, but it happens. And I formed lifelong friendships out of this, and I'm happy with that.
Well, Victoria, Rohan, well said, well done, well played. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Big Brother Canada airs on Global TV Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. And to stream past episodes and for the live feeds, check out bigbrothercanada.ca. I will be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Canada's LGBTQ2+ archives just released Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada. Order a copy from your local bookstore to dive into hundreds of loud and proud stories and photos of historical queer life in Canada from pre-1939 to today. Get your copy from your local bookstore. Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada.
Hi, this is Mo Berg from The Pursuit of Happiness, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, the High Priest of the Temple of Priapus, David Francis Cassidy. David Francis Cassidy, hi, how are you?
I'm fine, especially today. I'm very fine.
First of all, thank you for being here, to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. David Francis Cassidy, you just told me something very interesting. As we were doing this interview, you just got your COVID-19 vaccine. You just got stabbed. How was it for you?
Oh, it was, I went to a big site and it wasn't well laid out in the sense of where it was, but we eventually found it, my partner and I. But it wasn't difficult once we found it. And it was, you had to go through several times of identification depending on which station you went to and so on. But ended up just being fine. I didn't feel the needle go in or out, so it was good.
And you got the Pfizer?
I got the Pfizer.
Uh-huh. And you go back in 4 months?
I go back end of June.
End of June. Crazy.
Yeah. Unless, of course, things, more vaccines rush in, which I'm hoping will, then that might change.
How do you feel mentally?
I'm feeling a little better because being in Montreal, there's lots of new variants, and we're a little worried about that. And I live in the center of a lot of the variants, apparently. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling a little safer, hopefully. I've been, after a year, you get kind of tired of all this taking care of hiding and so on. So I'm looking forward to this summer be able to go out and see people.
Yes. So are you willing to have a conversation about the Temple of Priapus? Shall we do that?
Yes.
So basic first question, David Francis Cassidy, the Temple of Priapus is a temple about or devoted to what?
It's 4,000 years old plus. That goes back all the way to India. It's a way for some people to find a spiritual expression, which in this day and age, it's been difficult for people to do, and find something that's more meaningful to me as an individual and to others who are sort of like-minded. The phallus for us is a key that opens the door, and that is a way to find truth and happiness, and it's a spiritual manifestation of God in a sense.
So I didn't personally know the meaning of the word Priapus, so I looked it up, and according to Webster, the definition of Priapus is a Greek and Roman god of gardens and male generative power. That's
certainly the most common definition. Priapus is the Latin version. Priapos, OS, is the Greek version. And it goes under many different names depending on what country you're in. The god Min in Egypt, 5,000 years is the expression, or the Temple of Baal is currently in Lebanon, goes thousands of years. So you can trace, it's been manifested under different names through different societies. And in France, in the Catholic Church, there are 40 saint names with related to the phallus. So it has different names. The god Lu in Ireland and so on. You can find different expressions, but it's the same thing no matter where you are. It's just got a different name for the local population.
So my understanding is that this is a pagan temple. And did you come across this maybe in the 70s in San Francisco?
The temple was legally first set up in 1972 in Calgary by a dentist, and in 1973 in the state of California in San Francisco. And I joined through San Francisco, and that's where I was ordained through. And you go, Father Jackson made a trip to Italy, and in September 23rd in southern Italy, in the Catholic churches, you have this parade through the streets people carrying Saint Priapus's phallus and so on. It becomes a religious sort of thing. So that's how he found it. And after I was ordained, I set up a temple here in Montreal in 1979. And several years later, I was elected Pontifex, which until recently I still am. I'm Pontifex Maximus, or Pontifex Emeritus now.
So how did you first hear about all of this?
I was looking for something, and I put an ad in the Advocate, and the priest in San Francisco answered that, because it was difficult back in the 70s to try to find like-minded. There wasn't anything like the internet or stuff that it's much easier now.
So you put in an ad looking for what?
Looking for people that were interested in the worship of the phallus, and just out of curiosity to see if anybody would respond, and he did, and that's how I began this journey.
So you're saying the word phallus. In basic terms, are we talking about worship of the cock? Is that fair to say?
That is actually perfect to say. It becomes the phallus, the cock is a tool to explore spirituality, and semen is the sacrament for us. Sacrament of the Most Holy Seed so it's a manifestation of physical and spiritual energy.
And in the 70s, you put in an ad in the Advocate, like you were just saying, to try to potentially find like-minded individuals that wanted to celebrate the phallus, like you were saying. So back in the 70s, was this a way for you to express sexuality then?
Well, I was curious. I didn't know much about that, but I was curious if anybody else was interested in the cock as not just in sex between two men, because you could get that anywhere, but it was more, I wanted more than that. I wanted it to have some meaning. I wanted to see if there were other things out there, and that began opening up all kinds of different things. And we've done, for instance, the Gay Archives in Montreal did a whole big exposition in French, traveled all the way to the Sorbonne to get all kinds of stuff in French and German and so on to trace Priapus's manifestation in different ways. So it has led to a number of educational opportunities. I do lots of speaking at local universities and so on, and I've consulted with universities from California to India on the subject. So it's grown as more and more people accept it's in a pagan sort of way, because you would find things in Anglican churches or in Shinto temples or in Buddhist and sort of things. When I visited Bangkok and went to the Royal Palace, well, it's phalluses everywhere, tied with beautiful pink ribbons and so on, big festivals, and especially in the East, there's lots of those. So I was discovering that it was nothing new. And I visited Mexico in the Mayan temples in Chichen Itza, for instance. Travel off the beaten path, and you go into a phallic temple, and the phalluses are coming up from the floors, the altar, and everywhere. And it's been going on forever. And you feel sort of a connection with people who have been there for thousands of years. So I'm just continuing a journey that somebody else started, and I'm letting other people know that it's all right to do that. It was a way to try to normalize something, because way back in the 70s, you mentioned you were just in the worship of the cock. Everybody sort of looked down on you, especially on pagan stuff. I mean, I was born and raised a Catholic, so that was having been rejected by the Catholic Church as a gay person. I wanted to go find some spiritual expression somewhere else.
So Earlier, we were mentioning about you getting the COVID-19 vaccine, at least part one of it, the first vaccine. How has the pandemic, this global pandemic, impacted the Temple of Priapus there in Montreal?
Well, it's closed it down physically and opened up digitally on Skype or Zoom or Discord or all kinds of other different sites, Telegram. People are searching and try to find safe ways for them to learn more and express more and share with people who are like-minded. So it's forced a different way of trying to reach out, and it's been successful in that sense. On the Facebook page, we're now over 1,000 members there. As an example, it's as more and more people learn about us all over the world. I get letters from South Africa and Europe and South America, and people are yearning for something, and the benefits of having the internet and places like Zoom allow people that are isolated to reach out and find out that there are ways and yearning to get over this vaccine problem or this COVID problem. And so we can get back to a more normal sort of life and be able to meet and return to an organized sort of response rather than something over the internet. We had a group in Toronto and Vancouver, and so we had several different sort of temples across the country, but the COVID has put everybody underground. So you'll see how successful they get to be reborn once COVID is dealt with.
So at the Temple of Priapus, all church members worship members, so to speak. Do you think that there's a specific type of person that would be drawn to the Temple of Priapus?
Well, you don't have to do anything particular. You have to learn who you are and what your needs are, as long as there's no harm to somebody else. So you're not forced to do something. You're encouraged to be honest with yourself and let that express itself. So you're not forced to worship somebody, as an example, but we try to make things comfortable enough that you can relax and begin to reveal yourself and be proud to be able to do that.
And are there main teachings of the Temple of Priapus?
Yes. Oh, well, and there's a lot. We have 4 levels in the temple, depending on how serious you are and how it's manifested itself in your life, and whether it grows into development of, for instance, sex magic, where you becomes a tool. And we teach people how to do that. The common concepts of edging and gooning becomes that's a tool to develop and create energy and learn how to use that energy to do something positive in your life. That kind of thing. So it becomes a serious response, not just a way to get off. If that's what you want, we won't accept you in the temple.
It almost sounds like a bit of like yoga, like yogic practices of being able to control your kundalini energy, your sexual energy, that sort of thing.
Absolutely, because it becomes a tool, and you learn how to use that in depending on what the purpose of the ritual is. And people can request a personal ritual. They may have a business venture they want to do, or there's a legal issue they want to overcome, or different things that we will organize around that. So people are encouraged to bring their wants and needs to the group.
Are there ceremonies?
Absolutely. You start, everybody has to be naked in the group. And if you can't be naked, well, then we're not the right group to start with. You come in and you gather in a circle and you hold the phallus of the person on your right, and it begins a process. There's, you stand before the altar, and there's incenses are lit and candles are lit. The candles are chosen depending on the ritual because there are different colors that you are needed depending. It all has different pagan concepts built into it. And the more you get into it, the more you understand that. I, of course, learn about that, but people coming in at the beginning are not exposed to that. Their background, if they're a Catholic, as an example, they would not have known it. They would see that there are used, like candles in the Catholic Church are used for something, but here that it's explained in more detail about what it is and why you need certain different things to use. And for instance, we will go up north. I go up north to small underground brooks, gather water that way, and then we turn it into holy water. So we spend time to find the right tools to use.
So this is definitely a religious experience as well.
Absolutely.
Or spiritual experience.
A spiritual experience. Religious sort of tends to, people think it's as a Christian or Buddhist, something it's more of a control. Here it's more of a, it's more allows a spiritual manifestation of something.
Rainbow Country will return right after this. So I am now officially booking guests for summer 2021, which sees the launch of season 6 of Rainbow Country. So if you would like to be a guest on the show, or maybe you know someone who should be on the show, get in touch. Contact me through social media at Mark Tara Music, or just simply go to marktara.com. And I hope to be talking to you soon.
I'm Sandra Urian.
And I'm Danny Bensi.
And you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Earlier, you were mentioning this dates back like 4,000 years. Do you know the origins of Priapus?
Well, I know
the temple of Priapus
of phallic worship. Yes, because I've traced them. But you could find that from going to a library, or like to go to the Gay Archives here in Montreal, as an example, because that's been done in an organized search sort of way. Or I will go to, when I speak at the Faculty of Theology at Concordia, there are lots of information that people don't think of because they haven't had to think of. In this particular part of the world, it's been all sort of mostly Christian until more recently. When they learn that there are, before the Christians were created, there was spiritual sort of stuff. I was just looking on the web. There's a new group devoted to male sex magic, and they were talking about the god Min in Egypt as an example. There are lots of people know lots of different things, and that information gets shared with each other. So we find that depending on which country and so on, there's different manifestations over time. We don't necessarily reinvent the wheel. We want to bring what was done before and add to that. So rituals that are used, or in a pagan sense, we will maybe adapt a ritual. Or if there's, I'll go into an occult shop and I'll say I want some Priapus oil, and I'll tell them how to make it, because not too many people know what the formula is and so on. So we've rediscovered things that were hidden, that were there, but had got lost sight of.
You said you started the chapter in Montreal in the 70s?
79.
So how many are there other chapters in Canada?
There's one in Vancouver, and there was one in Toronto, but the high priest there died from side effects of AIDS some time ago. We've had meetings, and I sometimes, before the COVID came along, I would travel to Toronto, and some member would offer their place, and we would meet. So there's about 30 people in Toronto that are connected to the temple. But we've been looking for a new high priest to replace that person we lost some time ago. And we want to expand that. The head of the temple now is in Palm Springs, California. We have a what we call a cockabration, where we have an international gathering. We had one in 2018 because I had developed cancer, and I wasn't sure I was going to survive, and I wanted to make sure somebody else carried on. So we elected a new pontifex, and he's now built a physical temple in Palm Springs. Beautiful. So yes, there are. We got, and it's not just gay people. For instance, in Hawkins, Texas, there's a temple that's mostly for heterosexuals, male and female worship together. There was a big temple like that in Switzerland. So it depends on who the membership are in the local areas to how things are sort of organized. We don't, in San Francisco, they used to have gay services and they had heterosexual services, as an example. So people would feel comfortable and worshiping together.
So let's talk about documentaries, or in this case, dick-umentaries. The Montreal Temple and its members were featured in a documentary called Dickumentary. That's how I came across you. And it's a documentary on everything you've always wanted to know about the penis, but maybe you were afraid to find out. How did you and the Temple of Priapus there in Montreal get involved in this documentary?
They contacted me because I do lots of public speaking, travel around. I traveled in the East Coast of the U.S. lecturing and here and other places. So people found about that or found some publication. We had in one of the local press had a big description on Priapus, and that's how the Huffington Post heard about this documentary and so on and broadcast that. So it's been people find out about us in different ways, and now that there's a web, people just type in something and they'll find things about us and contact us from that way. So it's much easier now. Way back when we started, I will go to Priap, which is a gay store here in Montreal, and I would put a notice up on the bulletin board saying phallic worship, if interested, call, because it was sort of word of mouth because there wasn't any other way to do it. But now the press in different forms are more interested in finding out about us and finding how serious we are and why we are and what we're doing, which is great. It's led to all kinds of other sorts of manifestations. It's hard to keep up with somebody like me. I'm not the most computer literate, so you got Instagram and Twitter and all kinds of different things, and it takes lots of time to keep up with it. And I say, well, I got too many. I'm involved in so many things. It's hard for.
It's hard to stay on top of it all.
Yes, exactly. So I need help, and that's a number of people have come to help. And when I got out of my cancer problems, I was on a feeding tube for 6 months, so I was quite ill for a long time. I joined a group called Gay and Gray for gay Anglophones, seniors. There wasn't anything. There was a group that still exists for French-speaking Anglophones, but nothing for English-speaking Anglophones, seniors, I'm sorry. So that's led to my sort of out, and it's led to people know, because it's not something I've hidden anything, and that's led to word more spreading out amongst. Here's this, here's this person who's connected to things, and then I have my nieces and nephew who come to visit, and you come downstairs and see the temple and sort of say, what's all this about? And they had lots of fun, and so I got reputations for different age groups for different things, and the neighborhood knows because look, people come here. I got lots of. I'm very public, and because other people can't be, so I try to allow other people to feel more comfortable.
In 2021, do you find your neighbors are more accepting?
Yes, I do. I'm not a big demonstratively person, except in some things. I've always been a very public person on social issues, welfare, and gay issues, and I march in the parades, and the temple has marched in the parade. We had a big march in Chicago, and had T-shirts and so on, and got lots of support and so on. But people tend to be afraid because being public has consequences for some people, because people try to tear down things. So that scares some people away from wanting to be leaders in things, because you have to be able to handle the kooks of the world, and sometimes that's not so easy. I've had lots of death threats and that sort of stuff over time.
You've had death threats against you?
Oh, yes.
Because of being the high priest of the Temple of Priapus?
Yes.
Wow.
People get afraid of something they don't know. I find.
So getting back to the documentary, Dickumentary, it came out on streaming in 2017. What did you think of the documentary when you first saw it?
Well, when we first, because they wanted to see part of a ritual and so on, I had to find some of the membership who would be public, and a lot of them didn't want to be public. So that was nice in the sense that I found some people who would be willing to share with me the ability to let other people know. I wanted to I don't want to use the word normalize, but I want to let other people know it was okay to express yourself physically as well as sexually together. And so I was happy that this was another manifestation of that being a success and something public. And that led to lots of people from, I still get calls from the documentary. I got one a week ago from England because of that. It's still on the web and people still find things. So it continues to be helpful to us.
It's a well done film. I will say that it's well done and hilarious.
Well, I think people that did it were sensitive and were not discriminatory and wanted to understand why we're here and what we're trying to do and so on. So I think they did a good job of doing that within the time period, time limits that they had.
With being the high priest of the Temple of Priapus, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to deal with?
Well, it depends. When AIDS was around, because I was the grand old man of AIDS in Canada back in the 80s, I started the AIDS response here, and I set up the Canadian AIDS Society when we had our first conference in 85 here in Montreal. I had people wanted one person come and say, for instance, I wanted to get AIDS because I felt I needed to do that. And of course, being a person who developed the response to the community for that subject, I was taken aback by somebody who knowingly wanted to get infected And I was annoyed in some senses because I've been dealing with people who are dying right in front of me or in my arms. So I was upset and annoyed for that. So that was being in my professional life. Was a social worker before I retired. I worked with the AIDS community and seniors were the two big populations that I worked with. So it was a way to work with populations who were rejected by society in one way or another, and to develop a response for them, which has been what I would do all my life. I worked with transvestites and transsexuals. Now we call them transgendered and things like that. So back in the 70s, there was a different response to what it is in the mid 20s of now. So it's been interesting to see the changes in how people respond to things and how more acceptance comes in. So I become a custodian of history because I've lived that part, and a lot of people have not done so. The idea of mentoring younger people to know where they've come from and why we still have gay pride and what that meant. When I walked in the first gay pride with George Hislop, because I was the treasurer of CHAT when he was the president of CHAT in Toronto, and the same thing here in Montreal when I walked in the first gay pride with him. 150, 200 people was a big deal. Now you get 1 million, and you think that's wonderful. But you had to build on something, and since I was part of the building, it's important to transmit what that history is, so you understand and you can feel the joy and why this is still important to carry on.
Keeping the history alive.
Yeah.
Any issues when it comes to police and law enforcement?
No. The only connections I've had with police as a social worker would be around physical and financial exploitation of somebody, for instance. So I had to deal with that. And the police were always very helpful. When I had to have them, they were available. When I was in the streets, after the trucks raid as an example, and I was attacked by the police, well, I understood that. But when my professional life in dealing with individual problems as a professional worker, the police have been very helpful. So there's a difference between what some of the rank and file and when you get into the higher levels, detectives and so on, becomes a whole different sort of, at least I found, a different kettle of fish, and much more supportive. You could explain the problem and they would respond. At least that's been my experience.
Mm-hmm. So if people want to find out all about the Temple of Priapus, especially the one there in Montreal, how would they do that?
They can look us up on Facebook as an example. Or they can go to templepriapus.com, which is the international thing, and they would refer people to me from where. Or I'm on so many different sites, Skype and so on. You can find me in different places. So, and people do.
You're out there.
I'm out there because other people can't be out there.
Yeah. And my last question for you, what's been the best part about being the high priest of the Temple of Priapus?
It's been, for me, a way to validate that I can still have a sense of spirituality and being gay, and I can marry those two together positively. And that's been an important way for me to grow and to help other people grow. And I've made lots of wonderful friends, and being honest and open out there lets other people, family and friends, and students who I've taught and so on, be able to say, this is a friend of mine. And I now have lots of different friends over different generations. And I think that's been a great reward for me. And so as I continue on my journey, as I get into the last stages of my life, these things become all that much more important. And I can rely upon people that I didn't think I could, when I was coming out back in the 20s in Toronto, and then found my partner, and we've been together 47 years this year. It's been seeing this journey that I've been going on and on over the years, and how it's changed and how different people manifest, and how I've remained positive and true to myself, I think, and help other people do that. And it gives people who I deal with strength to develop out. There was a person recently, he's got cancer of the brain, he's in his 70s, and he just came out because of conversations that we've shared together. He's found the strength to be able to, at this stage in his life, and maybe not much more, but to be himself in his final part of life. I think that's a wonderful little feather in my cap to be able to say that I've helped people find themselves and be true.
Powerful, powerful words.
Thank you.
David Francis Cassidy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everything that you've done.
Oh, thank you. It's very kind of you.
For more on the Temple of Priapus, check out their website, thephallicbrotherhood.com. And by the way, the documentary, Dick-umentary, can be found on Amazon Prime Video and Apple TV. And trust me, it's worth the watch, especially for the end credits. Taking us to hour 2 of Rainbow Country, I Love Men, Eartha Kitt.
Hi, my name is Joanne Vanicola, and I'm an actor and a writer, and I was first on Rainbow Country with Mark Tara on discussing the massacre at Pulse Club in Orlando. I realized how important it was for our community to have a radio station, specifically for our issues, to talk about people in the LGBTQ community and to provide an outlet for our stories, to discuss our politics, culture, and give voice to the issues that matter to us. And of course our artists and the things that we do globally. And and talk about culture. And without people like Mark Tara providing a space for this with a radio show like this, then we wouldn't have that voice. So support, tune in. Thank you.
Hi, this is Police Constable Danielle Botno, also known as LGBT Cop, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
This is hour 2 of Rainbow Country, where I feature music from LGBT recording artists, independent recording artists, plus voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. So if you stay with me, if you stick with me, I hope you think I'm bringing you music worth hearing. Starting us off, a 3-song 80s set. We just heard Erotic City. Before that, Alphabet Street. And starting off that 3-song 80s set, I Want to Be Your Lover. Those 3 tracks from the one and only Prince, or Prince Rogers Nelson. Up next, a 3-song new wave set.
It's all over town. You know my number, but forget to call. Blood on my feet from walking the wall. I got your message, got it loud and clear. Jump in the car, forget to steer. Time is computed, who make me so wise? You take the scissors and cut all my ties. Time is computed, I heard what you said. Your propaganda, but it's making me red. that static tone. Higher than heaven, time stands still. Higher than cities, with time to kill.
We just heard Don't Walk Past. Before that, Radio Silence. And starting off that 3-song new wave set, Chinese Graffiti. Those 3 tracks from Canadian 80s new wave band, Blue Peter. On Sunday, April 4th, Paul Humphrey, frontman of Blue Peter, passed away after a long battle with multiple system atrophy. By the way, did you know that Blue Peter opened for some of the biggest acts in rock and roll, including the Boomtown Rats, Simple Minds, The Police? Paul Humphrey may no longer be with us physically, but we'll always have the moves, the images, the music. Paul Humphrey was 61. Rainbow Country will return right after this.
Hi, I'm Gord Depp at the Spoons. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Up next, a 3-song indie set.
help but move. I'm lost in sensation and I lose my cool. I'm under your spell. Felt your plan to sit inside my garden, sitting on the floor of your apartment. Wanna cut a rug in the heat of the summer. Now I play it loud with the windows down and it goes on and on and on. So let me go on and on. You're something that I can't ignore. And here we are under the moon. I'm a weeping willow still in bloom. And I didn't account for the soil. Couldn't say it outright. Thought you leave, you cloud out, let it fade. You burn blue, you burn me if I love you, yeah. Now I'm wondering if we get involved, would have messed it up, would we evolve? Why we gotta be this way? Why we gotta be so careful? Spending eternity trying to get on your level. You're so lush, I'd risk it all for your touch. For a night I'm disheveled, and there's something here I can't pretend. You water me, I water you. Yeah. Don't think we could reach the end, but we could shout into the void. I'ma keep you inside, next to me. I said it twice, I've made a scene. Don't make a move, you can come through if you want to, yeah. Cause I'm wondering how you are, where you been, and I don't wanna be that way. Why we gotta be this way? Why we gotta be so careful? Spending eternity trying to get on your level. You're so lush, I'd risk it all for your touch. For a night I'm disheveled, so I'm spending eternity trying to get on your level. You're so lush, I'd risk it all for your touch. For a night I'm disheveled. You grew into the soil, my roots not filled with oil. You gnawed into my bones, and now and then there's something here I can't pretend. Not much here I can't control. If I ever find the end, knowing me my blood will boil. Spending eternity trying to get on your level. You're so lush, I risk it all for your touch. For a night I'm disheveled.
We just heard Lush. Before that, On and On. And starting off that 3-song indie set, Paper Bag. Those 3 tracks from the record The Fall of Jameson Roy from American indie artist Danielle Grubb. By the way, a little background on Danielle Grubb. Hailing from Dallas, Texas, and identifies as gender non-binary. For more music on Danielle Grubb, you can find them at daniellegrubb.bandcamp.com. Up next, a 3-song electronic set.
permission, 'cause I am on a mission. Show me what it takes to be your man. Boy, don't keep me waiting. I'm greedy and impatient. This is getting out of hand. There's no alibi, no asking why. This could be do or die. Hey, do you wanna try? Daddy, we could fly. Come on, let's take a ride. Is not imagination, some sick infatuation. Baby, this is more than physical. It's not just some attraction, some simple satisfaction. It's situation critical. I'm not just trying to score, Daddy, I want more. That's what I came here for. This ain't a one-night stand. Say, boy, I need a man. Now do you understand? Hey, hey. Do you want it? Now do you want it, baby? Tell me, do you want it? Now do you want it, baby? Boy, if you want my love, if you want my love, now do you want my love? Boy, if you want my love, now do you want my love? Do you want my love? Baby, come and get it. Baby, come and get it. Baby, won't you let me know why you keep me holding on? Baby, won't you let me know why you keep me holding on? Baby, won't you let me know why you keep me holding on? Baby, won't you let me know why you keep me holding on? Baby, won't you let me know why you keep me holding on? Baby, won't you let me know, let me know, let me know, let me know. Boy, if you want my love, if you want my love, now do you want my love? Boy, if you want my love, now do you want my love? Do you just wanna fuck? Baby, come and get it. If you want my love, baby, come and get it. If you want my love, baby, come and get it. If you want my love, now do you, baby, come and get it. If you want my love, baby, come and get it. You're just a pixelated fantasy. Alright, swipe, slay something on my phone. All I got is what you're showing me. A cold light and I'm all alone. A third dimension, the touch and feel of it all. That's what I'm missing. Oh boy, I'm losing control. My new obsession. I want it more than you know. Real life, not virtual. We're going all night. I'm ready to blow. Wanna get my hands all over you. You got it all right. Oh, you should know. Wanna get my hands all over you. Intoxication taking over me. I won't fight, I can't hold it back no more. Got me rethinking my priorities. Black, white, and personal. A bold seduction. Like taste and smell of it all. I'm losing function. I'm
me, tease me, hands all over G, contact body, do you even want the D? Welcome to my party, you talk like you naughty, by nature I'm down for the OPP, no PNP, I'm XLT, you got that XLD, ugh, well we can fuck for free, I'm not usually into strangers touching me, but the way Corey tugging keep me blushing, so we rushing to the tugging and the loving, skip the kissing and the hugging, and my bugging, no disgusting, no more judging for the subject, got a hole, you can plug it, got a dick, I was sucking.
Slow down, baby.
You right, I'm touched, a little crazy, eager, B-O-Y, never call me lazy, I'm hardly Carly, call me baby.
We just heard Hands. Before that, Come and Get It. And starting off that 3-song electronic set, Danger Zone. Those 3 tracks from American artist Corey Tutt. By the way, Corey Tutt was a guest on Rainbow Country a while back, talking about his music in the documentary called All Male, All Nude. For more on Corey Tutt, you can find him at CoreyTutt.com. Up next, Getaway Car from Toronto group Gender Fix, featuring Kate Ashley. We just heard Toronto group Gender Fix featuring Kate Ashley with Getaway Car. Don't forget to keep up to date with all things country, Rainbow Country. Follow me on socials at Mark Tara Music. Do you have a guest suggestion, maybe a show idea? Send me an email because I would love to hear from you. rainbowcountry@ciut.fm. The podcast for Rainbow Country is available on all major platforms. And of course, everything is hooked up at marktara.com. Finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, stay well, stay strong, stay safe.
Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls, and you're listening to Rainbow Country.